No parachute, no gliding suit. 25,000 feet. The ground a distant blur. Just you. The wind screaming past, and the earth rushing up to meet you. One man dared to jump. Not just jump, but fall. For over 2 minutes. Without anything to stop him but a net, way down below. How? Why? And could you even imagine doing it? This is the story of Luke Aikins, the man who redefined what's possible. Luke Aikins isn't just some guy who decided to jump out of a plane. This is a man who lives and breathes skydiving. Third-generation skydiver? Check. Over 18,000 jumps under his belt? Check. He's a consultant for the US parachute team, a skilled stuntman, and someone who knows the skies like the back of his hand. This wasn't a random act of craziness. This was the culmination of a lifetime dedicated to pushing the boundaries of what's possible in the air. This was Luke Aikins taking his passion to the absolute limit. Now you might be thinking, okay, this guy's clearly a bit crazy, right? But hold on, this wasn't some spur-of-the-moment, hold my beer and watch this kind of decision. This jump, this insane idea, had been brewing in Luke's mind for years. Years of contemplation, planning, and asking himself, is it even possible? See, Luke isn't just about the adrenaline rush. Don't get me wrong, there's definitely an element of that. But for him, it's more about pushing the boundaries, testing the limits of what humans can do. It's about the challenge, the puzzle of it all. Think about it. Jumping from 25,000 feet without a parachute, that's not just about guts. It's about science, about understanding the forces of nature, about using your body and mind to control a fall that should be uncontrollable. So why would anyone even think about doing this? Why risk it all? For Luke, it was about answering those questions that gnawed at him. Can I do this? Can I solve this puzzle? Can I push myself beyond what anyone thought possible? And that's where the real story lies. It's not just about the jump itself, it's about the journey, the years of preparation, the mental and physical training, the unwavering determination to make the impossible possible. Okay, so we've established that Luke isn't crazy, just incredibly determined and maybe a little bit of a mad scientist. Because this jump, it wasn't just about throwing himself out of a plane and hoping for the best. It was about understanding the science of falling. See, at 25,000 feet things are different. The air is thinner, which means less resistance. You fall faster. We're talking terminal velocity. That's the maximum speed you reach when falling, where gravity and air resistance balance out. At that altitude, terminal velocity is higher, meaning Luke was going to be absolutely screaming towards the ground. But it's not just about speed. It's about air resistance, wind conditions, and the way your body interacts with all of that. Luke had to become a human projectile, making minute adjustments to control his fall. He had to calculate every move, every tiny shift in his body, to make sure he hit that tiny target. And that's where the science comes in. Luke worked with a team of experts, physicists, engineers, you name it, to model his trajectory, to understand how his body would move through the air, and to calculate the precise adjustments he'd need to make. They used wind tunnels, computer simulations, the whole 9 yards. This wasn't just a leap of faith. It was a calculated scientific endeavor. They were taking the seemingly impossible and breaking it down into a solvable equation. All right, so Luke's plummeting towards Earth at over 120 miles per hour. No parachute, remember? His only hope? A net. Now this isn't your average backyard volleyball net. This thing is massive, 100 feet by 100 feet. Sounds huge, right? But picture this. You're free falling from 25,000 feet, basically a tiny speck hurtling towards the ground. Suddenly, that 100 by 100 foot net starts looking a whole lot smaller. And it gets worse. This net isn't just lying flat on the ground. It's suspended 200 feet in the air. Why? Because it needs to give, to have some flex, to absorb the insane impact of a human body hitting it at terminal velocity. Think of it like a giant trampoline, carefully engineered to catch Luke without snapping his spine like a twig. But here's the kicker. Hitting that net, it's like threading a needle while falling from the sky. The margin for error? Almost zero. A gust of wind, a slight miscalculation, and, well, let's just say it wouldn't be pretty. The net itself was a marvel of engineering, designed to absorb the force of Luke's fall and cradle him to safety. But its placement, its precise position, was just as critical. It had to be in the exact right spot, at the exact right angle, to give Luke even a fighting chance. But before we get into the sheer grit and training it took to pull this off, if you're blown away by stories of human daring like this one, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We're on a mission to reach 1,000 subscribers, and every click helps us bring you more mind-blowing feats like Luke's death-defying jump. Your support fuels these incredible stories, so thank you for being part of the adventure. Now let's get back to it. So we've got the science, we've got the net, but what about the man himself? Luke didn't just wake up one day and decide to take the plunge. This was about intense, hardcore training. We're talking hours spent in wind tunnels, simulating free-fall conditions, fine-tuning his body position, learning to become one with the air. But it wasn't just about physical training. This jump was a mental game, a battle against fear and doubt. Luke used visualization techniques, mentally rehearsing the jump over and over again, preparing for every possible scenario. He had to be ready for anything, because at 120 miles per hour, there's no time to second-guess yourself. Focus, composure. These were Luke's weapons. He had to train his mind to stay sharp, to stay calm, even when your instincts are screaming at you to panic. And let's not forget the team. Behind every great skydiver is a team of equally dedicated professionals. Coaches, engineers, friends, family. They were all there to support Luke, to push him, to help him prepare for the challenge of a lifetime. This wasn't a solo mission. It was a team effort. Because when you're about to jump out of a plane at 25,000 feet with no parachute, you need all the help you can get. July 30th, 2016. Simi Valley, California. The day had arrived. The air was thick with anticipation, a mix of nervous energy and that this is really happening kind of feeling. You could practically taste the tension in the air. The crew was a flurry of activity, meticulously checking every piece of equipment. No detail was too small. No check too insignificant. Lives were on the line after all. Luke, though, he was the eye of the storm. Calm, focused, but you could see the weight of the moment in his eyes. He took a moment to be with his family, a reminder of what he was fighting for, what he was risking. A hug from his wife, a kiss for his son, a quiet moment of reflection before the chaos. Then, it was time. Final checks, final preparations. The plane was ready, the net was in position, the world was watching. This was it. The culmination of years of dreaming, planning, and training. The moment of truth. The atmosphere was electric. Everyone knew they were about to witness something extraordinary, something that would be etched in history. The tension was almost unbearable. This wasn't just another jump. This was a leap into the unknown. The plane door opened. A rush of wind. A deafening roar. Luke stood at the edge, the world stretching out beneath him, a dizzying expanse of blue and green. And then, he jumped. No hesitation. No second thoughts. Just pure, unadulterated freefall. The initial drop, that stomach-lurching feeling of weightlessness, the wind whipping past his face. He was falling. Fast. Faster and faster. The ground rushing up to meet him. The wind screaming in his ears. His body a projectile, cutting through the air. He was a human missile, aimed at that tiny net far below. Every second felt like an eternity. The rush of adrenaline, the overwhelming sensation of speed. This was it. The moment he had trained for, the moment he had risked everything for. He was falling fast, and there was no turning back. 2 minutes. That's how long Luke had to control his fall, to become a master of the air. 2 minutes to make sure he didn't become a pancake on the ground. Think about that. 2 minutes to get it right. He wasn't just falling, he was flying, using his body like a wing, making tiny adjustments, feeling the air, anticipating the wind. He had to be hyper-aware, constantly correcting his trajectory, making sure he stayed on target. Remember that tiny net? From 25,000 feet it was practically invisible, but Luke had to find it. He had to guide himself towards it, using his body and his knowledge of the sky. This wasn't luck, it was skill. Years of experience, honed instincts, and nerves of steel. He was pushing the limits of human control, fighting against the forces of nature, and doing it with incredible precision. The seconds ticked by, each one a victory, a testament to his determination and focus. He was defying gravity, dancing with the wind, and doing it all with a calmness that bordered on the superhuman. But the challenge wasn't over yet. He still had to hit that net, and with every passing second, the ground was getting closer and closer. The tension was building, the stakes were rising. Could he maintain his focus? Could he pull it off? The ground was rushing up to meet him. The net, once a tiny speck, now loomed large in his vision. This was it. The moment of truth. Impact. The net billowed out, catching him like a giant hand. The force of the impact was immense, but the net held. It stretched, it sagged, but it didn't break. A collective gasp from the crowd below. Then, silence. A stunned silence, followed by a roar of relief and disbelief. He had done it. Luke rolled off the net, landing safely on the ground. He stood up, arms raised in triumph. A grin spread across his face, a mix of exhilaration and disbelief. He had cheated death. He had conquered the sky. The impossible had become possible. The dust settled. The cheers erupted. Relief washed over everyone, a wave of pure joy and disbelief. Luke was engulfed in hugs, his wife, his son, his team. Everyone who had been a part of this incredible journey. Celebrations, interviews. The world wanted to hear his story. But in that moment, it was just about the emotion. The sheer relief of survival. The triumph of achieving the impossible. What a ride, right? If you're as blown away by Luke Aikins and his insane jump as I am, hit that subscribe button. We've got more incredible stories of human potential coming your way, stories that'll make you question what you thought was possible. Don't miss out. Subscribe now and join the adventure.